priority order these players?
Priority order these players. Okay, I would say that Palmer is number one, only because Haaland and Salah. I think we did mention this a couple of weeks ago, but I've got here game week 12 to 19 captains, and we did mention this in a previous episode, I'm sure. But Haaland and Salah basically have their captainable game weeks in the same weeks. So in 12, Haaland is captainable against Spurs, and Salah is captainable against Southampton. So if you don't have Haaland, that's fine. You've still got to have just as good captain option, if not better, in Salah against Southampton. The game week after, they play each other. You're probably not going to captain either of them. After that, game week 14, Haaland plays Forest, Salah plays Newcastle away. You could captain them maybe, but these aren't prime captaincy weeks for either of them. The next week, Haaland against Palace, Salah against Everton. 2 captainable game weeks, both of them at the same time. 16 and 17, Haaland plays Man United and Villa. Salah plays Fulham and Spurs. Yeah, could captain them, but there is no big winner in either of these weeks. And then in 18 and 19, Haaland plays Everton and Leicester, and Salah plays Leicester and West Ham. You could pick either. So the moments in which you would captain Haaland are the same moments in which you would captain Salah. Salah covers Haaland for captaincy entirely. For every week you might captain them.
Yeah. It's interesting. Some of your colouring is precarious, but
yeah, okay. So people watching on video, the colouring basically is the green means it's a captainable game. Grey means you could do maybe, and if it's black, it means you're probably not going to play. You're probably not going to captain the player on that game week. And it varies per player. The better the player is, the more I think leeway you give them for the tougher fixtures. So, for example,
you've got Everton away as a green.
Yeah.
But Forest at home as a green.
Yeah. Forest are the goats, the defensive goats of the Premier League.
At home.
Yeah.
And Everton, as we said.
Forest, by the way, better for home form than away form. Sorry, better away form than home form.
Is that true?
Yeah.
Okay. I'll take your word for it.
They beat Liverpool 1-0 at Anfield, for example.
I'll take your word for it. I'll take your word for it.
And they lost to Newcastle 3-1 whilst playing at home last week.
Newcastle were just brilliant.
Yeah, they were. Yeah.
Newcastle were very good in that game.
They're back. They're so back.
Yeah, I see your point. Basically, anytime you want to captain Salah, you can captain Haaland. So,
or vice versa.
So, does this say you can try go without Salah?
If you have Haaland, yes, you can try that. I think you can.
It's scary.
It is terrifying.
I trust Haaland. I trust Salah a lot more in that City-Liverpool fixture than I do Haaland.
Yeah, I think it's strange. Salah against Man City at this moment, you probably don't mind that.
That's a great fixture.
I don't know. I don't know if I would. You captain him?
No, but it's great. You wouldn't do it, but you would. It's not like avoid. He's like it's like Salah against United. Like it's peachy for Salah.
Okay, fine. Yep, I'll take that.
Yeah. I mean, for me, that Forest fixture is green. But
okay.
Other than that, it's a very interesting point. I think what's also very interesting is that in game week 14,
yes,
it's only Palmer.
Yeah, so this is where things get even spicier. So whilst Haaland and Salah don't really cover each other, you know, they have the good fixtures at the same time, Palmer seemingly has his good fixtures in the weeks that Haaland and Salah don't have such good fixtures.
Yeah.
So Palmer actually covers Haaland and Salah quite well for those more difficult game weeks. So, for example, game week 14, Palmer has Southampton. Game week 16 and 17, Palmer has Brentford and Everton. And yeah, by the way, still on Everton. I don't know if we'll still be calling Everton a good fixture in a few weeks, but for now, okay.
You have had a different opinion on Everton every time you've said the word Everton today. Someone make a clip.
Yeah.
Dad's changing viewpoint on Everton every time.
Honestly, I don't know. I don't know what to think about Everton right now. I have a feeling that fixture is going to... I don't think we're going to be calling it a good fixture soon. But right now we have to.
Okay. I agree with you in that it's a much more difficult fixture. I think that's why I was a little bit confused about the green when it was Everton at home. Because Everton away, I should say, when Everton are at home. because they are getting a lot better.
Mm.
They are getting a lot better.
Yeah, but then Crystal Palace, you could make a similar argument, maybe to a lesser extent.
That would be a green for me.
Okay. Well, whatever. Regardless, Game Week 15 is super interesting because
Lots of green.
Haaland against Palace away, Salah against Everton away. These are captainable games for the best players, but I don't love that. Isak plays Brentford in that week. Interesting. Also in 16 and 17, Isak plays Leicester and Ipswich, whilst Haaland plays Man United Villa and Salah plays Fulham Spurs. Interesting.
Who do you think is necessary to own then for captaincy between now and Game Week 19? As in, which combination of players are a requirement, in your opinion, to cover yourself off with captaincy?
Okay. Well, we'll come back to Saka because we're going to talk about him in more detail. But I would say one of Haaland and Salah plus Palmer, and you're covered. I think by that point, you're covered for captaincy. If you want to add a little bit of Alexander Isak to that mix, probably it will be the Salah owners rather than the Haaland owners doing that. I think that maybe gives you an extra option, but I still think you would mostly captain Haaland or Salah on some game weeks and Palmer in the other game weeks.
Final question.
Yes.
Priority order these players.
Priority order these players. Okay. I would say that Palmer is number one only because Haaland and Salah can be a bit interchangeable, but I would put Salah in second, Haaland in third, and then Isak, and then Saka fifth.
Very interesting.
What would you say?
No, I completely agree with you. Saka's in fifth.
Yeah. Just hold that thought because I quickly do want to just have a look at Saka. Is he captainable? Has Saka ever really been captainable? He's got some good fixtures coming up, but they're really from 16 onwards. The 1 week where you could maybe captain Saka in the immediate term really is Game Week 13 where he plays West Ham. But someone who we haven't mentioned is Mbeumo, who plays against Leicester in Game Week 13. Possible captain there as well, because 13 is probably the toughest week for captaincy for the next couple of months. That is going to be a big one for people, and I think it could be pretty swingy. So, maybe you do just go Salah against City. Maybe you go Palmer against Villa. Maybe you go Isak against Crystal Palace. But again, does that fill you with a huge amount of confidence? Probably not. But Saka does play against West Ham in that week 13. But is Saka essential? Sim, do you want to lead this one? Because you mentioned to me earlier on WhatsApp, this is something you wanted to talk about.
Saka's an interesting conundrum, right? And so right now, per start, his non-penalty XG figures are 30th in the league. Yeah. 0.24 non-penalty XG, where he actually does lead the table is in terms of key passes and XA, where he's second and third respectively, 2.8 key passes and 0.34 XA per start. But he's not shooting a lot. No. 3.1 shots a game. He's not putting up much XG. We're not seeing much penalties be given in general. And as you said, he's not really a captaincy shout other than in Game Week 13 where it's West Ham away.
Yep.
So it's not like it's a peachy home fixture. Arguably, Palmer and Isak may be better than him. Arguably, Mbeumo may be better than him, right?
Yep. There's an argument to be made there for sure.
And outside of that, for 10.1 million, can you find better value for money elsewhere? The thing about Saka is he's going to tick along and he will hurt you every single week. And for me, can you find an odd 6 or 7 pointer or a combination of 10 points in 1 week, 2 points in another to try to cover that ownership for Saka, because someone pointed out, I think Salah is almost double the points that Saka's on.
Wow, is that true?
It's 20 points under.
Oh man,
I'm completely doubling the points that Saka's on. And for he's 2.4 million more. Right? So someone out there with Haaland and Saka sat in their team thinking, what the hell am I supposed to do about this Salah guy? Is selling Saka the option rather than selling Haaland?
Oh, so if you already have Saka, you think selling Saka
to pick up a Salah?
Yeah. Or to pick up
or
a
to pick
Palmer.
up a Palmer,
Yeah.
right? Or let's get crazy for a minute to go back to Haaland,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
But it's interesting. Like I think a Semenyo, a Rodgers, an Mbeumo, arguably a Bruno can do the same amount of damage that Saka can, I reckon, over this next 6.
Yeah, I don't completely disagree with you. Yeah, and I think particularly with the fixtures. So game week 12, Forest, 13 is West Ham, but away, followed by Man United and Fulham away, and then even after that in 16 it's Everton. And like I keep saying, I cannot decide whether that's a good or bad fixture. um, some people have spoken about, this is a nice run for Saka. His fixtures have finally turned. Have they? Is this a good run of fixtures? After that, by the way, it does get a lot better. A lot better. But, next 5, is this an essential run of fixtures for a 10.1 million midfielder?
Yeah.
It's okay.
Particularly when you have, other premium players in your team.
Yeah.
I wonder how necessary this is. Like a Erdegaard, could he be a similar points-getting option?
Or could Erdegaard improve Saka by, providing that creativity and taking some of the creative burden away from Saka so he can be more direct? Because as you can see, Saka's creative data is genuinely elite this season. By the way, 0.34 expected assists per start this season, which is the of all players in the Premier League, that is 3rd best. Do you reckon you could tell me the 2 players above him? I'll give you a clue. They both play for big six sides
Per start.
And I'm not including all of the players who have played 3 or 4 games. So forget De Bruyne, forget Foden.
Okay. Bruno?
Nope.
Damn, he's putting up better creativity than Bruno.
Yeah.
0.34. So who's more creative than Bukayo Saka?
Yeah.
From a top 6 team in the Premier League.
I'll give you a clue. One plays for Spurs, the other plays for City.
Solanke. No, James Maddison.
Yeah, Maddison is one of them.
Another one plays for City.
Yeah. Yeah, this one is slightly more surprising, but his creative data is genuinely really good per start. He started 7 games this season for reference. So it's not nothing.
Savinho.
Uh-huh.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Savinho's putting up 0.3 something.
0.37 expected assists per game.
Wow.
2.43 key passes per game. Yeah. Savinho's creative data is really good.
Wow.
But he's just not guaranteed minutes, particularly over this busy Christmas period.
Is he fit?
Right now he's fit, yeah.
Oh, I thought he was out injured.
He did have a little scare, but he's going to be fine. So yeah, Saka, he's got really good creative data, but what we want goals, really.
Yeah.
We want goals. That's what brings the big points for those midfielders.
Yeah.
It's difficult.
30th for non-penalty XG is crazy.
It's not high at all.
Yeah.
It's really not for that price.
It's low.
Yeah, well, in context of the fact he is the 4th most expensive player in the game.
If he was 15th more expensive player in the game, it'd be low.
Yeah, for sure. But it's still better than Chris Wood, for example, who has scored regularly this season. So just to throw that into context a little.
Yeah, there's 29 players with more.
Yeah, it's a lot of players, isn't it? A lot of players. Yeah, I think if you're not on wildcard, I think Saka's fine to go for because you can do a lot of restructuring and there's so many cheap options that finding the money to get an expensive player and paying that premium for Saka, it's no big deal if you've got a wild card. But he's not, for me, I kind of agree with you. He's a non-essential pick for non-wildcarders. I don't think you have to get him if you don't want to.
Yeah, I think you could have fun with it. And the good thing about Saka is, about to get burnt off this probably next game week. But the good thing about Saka is he tends not to be explosive, and you're most of the time you're gonna get hit with a 6 to 10 pointer.
Yeah,
and you could probably live with that.
Yeah, Saka is not a player who you are fearful of not owning. He's not like a Palmer or a Haaland. I know people are probably not fearful of not owning Haaland at the moment, but Haaland's got a 20-pointer in him. Palmer's got a 20-pointer in him. Salah's got the same. Saka, worst case scenario, is usually, he's got 9 points. He's got 10 points. so what? You know, that's not season ending damage against you.
Yeah.
And we've seen so many cheap
over the short
midfielders.
term, anyway.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And we've seen so many cheap players do that every week. You know, well, not every week, but you know, Rodgers and Semenyo and Smith Rowe, far cheaper players who are seemingly almost as capable of getting those similar scores to Saka. Not with the same consistency, of course. But I don't know. Penalties, fixtures slightly improving. Erdegaard back. There is potential for Saka to go off. And I still like him as a pick generally. But I don't. I think for most people, you're probably going to have bigger problems to address.